George Lucas is an American filmmaker and philanthropist who created the movie Star Wars and the Indiana Jones franchise. He founded Lucasfilm, LucasArts, Industrial Light, Magic, and THX. He served as chairman of Lucasfilm before selling it to the Walt Disney Company in 2012.
They didn't get paid very much to do American Graffiti. It took me 2.5 years to do it.
Nominated for 4 Academy Awards, he is considered to be one of the most significant figures of the 20th century New Hollywood movement and a pioneer of the modern blockbuster. Notwithstanding, he didn't always play nice behind the scenes.
And I want you to get out of this office right now.
I'm sorry, Sam.
No way.
No way.
From on-set tension to long-lasting grudges, he had little patience for actors who challenged his vision or broke his rules. These are the top 5 cast members George Lucas hated the most. Try guessing any of them. At number 5, we have Mark Hamill.
Keep making this up as he goes along.
Mark Hamill has often spoken about George Lucas's unique directing style during the original Star Wars trilogy. He described Lucas as a visionary with a strong sense of the technical aspects of filmmaking, such as visual effects and world building, but noted that he wasn't particularly hands-on when it came to guiding actors' performances. One of Hamill's most famous observations was that Lucas's primary direction on set often boiled down to 2 words: faster and more intense. This became something of an inside joke among the cast, including Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, who also commented on Lucas's minimal feedback during takes.
I'm still angry about the way they treated Jake Lloyd. He was only 10 years old, that boy.
Although George Lucas had already sold Star Wars to Disney by the time the sequel trilogy was made, Mark Hamill's dissatisfaction with the direction of the new films indirectly reflected his appreciation for Lucas's original vision. Hamill was particularly vocal about his disagreement with how Luke Skywalker was portrayed in The Last Jedi 2017, where Luke was shown as a disillusioned hermit who had lost faith in the Jedi. Hamill felt this was a betrayal of the optimistic character that he and Lucas had built over the original trilogy.
To trash George. And I have issues with George, but I love that man. I would never...
In interviews, Hamill stated that he had to treat Luke as a different character because he disagreed with almost every creative choice about him. Although George Lucas wasn't involved in the sequel's development, Hamill often hinted that the story might have stayed truer to the core values of Star Wars had Lucas remained in charge. As a result, George Lucas and Mark Hamill had few disagreements behind the scenes, but they kept their disagreements backstage. Moving on, at number 4, we have David Prowse.
In 1976, I'd had enough of playing masked characters. I just completed 3 films for Hammer.
In 1976, George Lucas, who was still a very young director at the time, needed some tall actors to play large roles in his low-budget sci-fi movie. He contracted 2 very tall men to try out for the roles of Chewbacca, the lovable sidekick, and Darth Vader, the ominous villain of the film. David Prowse was one of Lucas's favorite choices after he had seen him feature in Stanley Kubrick's classic, A Clockwork Orange. After Peter Mayhew chose the role of the only co-pilot, Prowse was left with only one option, which happened to be his favorite choice. Lucas, who was the main villain, was happy that the actors had been sorted out and out of the way for the time being. Everybody was happy to be on set. While Lucas was full of energy, ideas, and ambitions, the actors, on the other hand, were excited to star in the movie.
Well, no, I want people to see me, for who I am, as it were,
The following year, while production was still underway, Lucas was ridiculed by friends, as well as props and special effects malfunctions, and severe anxiety that almost gave him a heart attack on set. His doctor ordered that he stay at home to rest, or he might die while making the movie.
They went through the film on the side of the good, as I thought, no, I definitely don't want to do that.
In 1977, the actors were prepared to watch the movie they shot, which gave them so much trouble and migraine. Once they finished watching the movie, they were astounded by the outcome of the movie, well, except for Darth Vader himself.
I kept on saying to Lucas, what are we going to do about the voice? Because everything I'm saying is like coming, from inside the mask.
Prowse was not quite impressed because Lucas never informed him, David Prowse, that his voice would not be included in the final cut. Prowse had acted on set with the impression that his vocal performance would be used in the production of the actual movie. On the contrary, George Lucas has always planned to use the voice of James Earl Jones, who had a more powerful vocal performance. This led to the first ever conflict between David Prowse and George Lucas.
I think he did a wonderful job, but I still think I could have done equally as well, given the right opportunity.
I think George really wanted an obvious black voice, and they got James Earl Jones in to do it, and to me
George wanted a black voice, and he got James Earl to do it. When the movie Star Wars became a great success, Lucas began to work on the sequel, with David Prowse reclaiming his role as Darth Vader in The Empire Strikes Back. Although he was still mad at George Lucas for not telling him about Vader's voice.
That was one of those things where he had a very Northern England accent.
Knowing fully that his voice would not make it to the final production of the movie, Prowse decided to have fun with the recording process, switching out his line for something ridiculous. He would make his co-stars burst out laughing, even in serious situations. Prowse's attitude, as well as many racist, sexist, and bigoted remarks during filming, got him on Lucas's bad side. He found Prowse to be so annoying and unbearable that he would avoid him at all costs. When it came time to film one of the most cinematic twists in film history, revealing Vader is Luke's father, Prowse was kept in the dark with only director Irving Kershner. Knowing about this secret ending, Lucas and Mark Hamill provided Prowse with a faux script, having him read dialogue that didn't relate to the scene.
I hired him because he was big. I just needed a big guy. And he was in Clockwork Orange, he was this giant guy, and I said, well, all right, this will work.
Even Mark Hamill only knew about the real twist minutes before filming. Once production was over, Lucas thought that his ordeal with Prowse was over when Prowse once again realized that he had been lied to about his true role in the series. He felt even more betrayed. In interviews, he started to talk poorly about his experience while on set, especially when dealing with George Lucas. While filming The Return of the Jedi, George Lucas was getting along with very few people. He was becoming more focused on the money than on filming, doing whatever he could to sell action figures and merchandise. David Prowse felt even more neglected, while Lucas was doing his best to avoid Prowse. One day, while still filming The Return of the Jedi, the film crew got set up in a secluded and closed-off area to film the iconic ending of the film, the unmasking of Darth Vader. But when the face was finally revealed, it wasn't David Prowse behind the mask. George Lucas never told Prowse that they were filming the scene without him. In this stage, all hands had to guard the door to ensure that no one entered. While they were wrapping up production for Episode 6, and everyone was getting ready to say goodbye to the Star Wars trilogy before the dreaded interview, a few months before the release of the movie, news broke that someone had leaked the twist ending to the film, and Lucas immediately blamed Prowse. Lucas, concluding that it was Vader who did it, cut all ties with David Prowse. It didn't go down well with Prowse, as he was banned from all authorized Star Wars film events. Lucas told David Prowse that he had burnt all the bridges between them and would never be able to remedy the fallout. Although Prowse claimed that he never gave away information about the movie climax, he would never be allowed access to any Star Wars convention or event. From becoming one of the most iconic villains of Star Wars to being banned from the one thing that brought him to fame, George Lucas still despises David Prowse, and it probably won't change anytime soon. On number 3, we have Harrison Ford.
True story, Harrison Ford, who plays the space pirate in the film, at one point threatened to tie George up and make him say his own lines at gunpoint.
And I did say, George, you can type this shit, but you cannot say it. Move your mouth while you're typing and see if you can say it.
Harrison Ford is an American actor and a cinematic cultural icon who has starred in so many films over the years. He has won several awards in the last 7 decades, including nominations for an Academy Award, a British Academy Film Award, an Emmy Award, 2 Screen Actors Guild Awards, and 5 Golden Globe Awards. Ford is one of the biggest names to come out of Star Wars, thanks to his role as Han Solo. Lucas and Ford crashed when he played the space pirate in the film, and at one point threatened to put George up and make him sit his lines at gunpoint. What many fans did not know was that behind the scenes, Ford never had much love for George Lucas. George already made it known that he was not looking to work with anybody that he had worked with in American Graffiti, and he was looking forward to working with new people. Lucas and Ford already knew each other as they worked together in American Graffiti. Somehow, they got to work together again on Star Wars.
I think George likes people. I think George is a warm-hearted person, but he's a little impatient with the process of acting, of finding something, and he thinks it's there. It's right there. I wrote it down, Just do that. And sometimes you can't just do that and make it work.
When Lucas and Ford started working on Star Wars, Ford got frustrated immediately because he didn't like the way the script was written. He felt like the dialogue was stiff and unnatural, and he made it clear on set. When asked during an interview about working with Lucas, Harrison Ford clearly stated that Lucas lacked patience and wanted things to be done in a particular way, which cannot be obtained every time. By the third film, The Return of the Jedi, things got worse. Ford wanted Han Solo to die at the end because he felt he had done everything he needed to do, and a heroic father would give the character weight.
Is it true that you asked George Lucas to kill Han Solo off during the original, the first 3 movies?
Not personally.
You didn't personally ask?
No, I didn't ask him to personally kill me off. I asked him to ask the writers to kill me off because I thought that it would be good that the character who appeared to have not so much of a complex interweaving with the theme of the Force and all that good stuff. But it would be good that the character would, if he sacrificed himself.
Right. Are you glad now that...
In some noble way.
Are you glad that that Han Solo did not get killed off?
Yes.
Ford felt like the character, Han Solo, did not have a complex interweaving with the theme of the plot. Lucas, on the other hand, didn't want to kill Han Solo. He wanted a happy ending. Ford felt ignored because his opinion was not taken into consideration. At the end of the original trilogy, Ford distanced himself from Star Wars and avoided interviews. Lucas, seeing what was going on, grew tired of Ford's contemptuous behavior, but never called him out in the media. The tension grew worse. While Lucas saw Ford as difficult to work with, Ford thought Lucas didn't care about character depth. What started as a minor disagreement unfolded into a full-blown rift about script authenticity and character depth.
It was an interview for American Graffiti, and he was the one of 4 people in the room who never spoke. I thought he was deaf, dumb, and blind.
How has that relationship evolved?
I love George. And you could imagine for all of the opportunities, got to grow up in their backyard, play with their big toys.
Even though Ford claims to still love Lucas, the rift has grown into a decade-long divide that might never be settled. Speaking of the decade-long divide, on number 2, we have Carrie Fisher.
George made a movie that he wanted to see, not a movie that he thought the public would want to see, because if he thought that if he'd made a movie like that, we would be seeing a disaster film again or something like that, probably.
Carrie Fisher was an American actress and writer. She played Princess Leia in the original Star Wars films, and reprised the role in The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, a posthumous release that was dedicated to her, and The Rise of Skywalker, the latter using unreleased footage from The Force Awakens. In the movie Star Wars, she featured as Princess Leia. Fisher explained that director George Lucas was very clear about the characterization of Princess Leia. The filmmaker did not view the character as a damsel in distress and wanted to craft a character who wasn't a victim. Instead, Lucas wanted to show a competent woman who could deal with all kinds of threats without the help of the other male characters. Therefore, Fisher was interested in the character because of the strong and independent personality she was to play. She was sharp, unapologetic, and protective of her identity, which made her collide with George Lucas, the man who built the galaxy. What followed was hatred that simmered beneath the surface. In an interview, she boldly said that Lucas didn't make the movie to be seen by everyone, but a movie he wanted to see, because if he had the audience in mind, he wouldn't have made such a disastrous movie.
George Lucas ruined my life. 57 years ago, I did his little Star Wars film that then went on to redefine what they laughingly refer to as the face of cinema, and providing Mark and Harrison and myself with enough fan mail and even a small, merry band of stalkers. The fact that you made me into a pins into a shampoo bottle where people could twist my head off and pour. Every time I look in the mirror, I have to send you a check. The new girl who plays my mother, Queen Armadillo, or whatever her name is, she wears an "I hope I slept with you to get the job" guy.
The rift started brewing when Fisher signed up for the movie in 1976. She unknowingly forfeited rights to her likeness. Little did she know that Lucas planned a merchandising empire, which included branded socks, shampoo bottles, Pez dispensers, and even a weed strain that was named after her. She publicly criticized Lucas for how he handled her image and physical appearance during the film. She even talked about him not allowing her to wear a bra as Princess Leia because, according to him, there's no underwear in space. Her wit sometimes highlighted the rigid atmosphere on set, where Lucas maintained tight creative control. She criticized him openly, but later she reluctantly complied. The tension grew during The Return of the Jedi, where Lucas demanded that she lose weight for the gold bikini scene. She stated that she felt quite uncomfortable and humiliated, as she had to sit rigidly to avoid creases. Months later, she openly told Newsweek that she felt like Minnie Mouse. She felt like her identity was eclipsed by Layla, the character she was playing, but Lucas never apologized for monetizing it without compensation.
I'm an alcoholic because George Lucas ruined my life.
At the American Film Institute in 2005, where she delivered a tribute to Lucas, the affection was genuine, just as much as the anger. Her words cut deep, but the anger was even deeper. She did not fail to mention that Lucas was a sadist for reducing her to a product without apology.
George is a sadist.
To Fisher, it was disrespectful. Lucas never fought back, but Fisher kept pointing it out at every opportunity she got, ranging from her jabs, where she made it clear that she hated being controlled in a franchise, and her biting sarcasm that revealed how much she has grown in character, Layla.
It was tough dialogue to say. So I think I got, Governor Tarkin, I thought I recognized your foul stench, which, you know, I don't know about you, but I'm always talking like that.
Charming to the last.
We used to say you can type this stuff, but you can't say it.
She called out Lucas for his inability to express himself properly, tagging it as poor dialogue, and she could recognize the foul stench. Quoting Harrison Ford, she reminded Lucas that he could type most of the things he said, but could not say them properly in person. Sadly, Fisher passed away in December 2016 without resolving the feud. The #1 name on our list is none other than Alec Guinness.
And then when I opened it and found it was science fiction, I thought, this is simply not for me. And then I started reading, and it seemed to me the dialogue was pretty ropey. But I had to go on turning the page. And I mean, that's an essential in any script. You've got to know what happens next, or what's going to be said next. And I went on reading, and I thought, no, I like this. If only we can get some of the dialogue.
Alec Guinness was an English actor who had starred in several movies and won several awards. He was already a veteran actor when George Lucas thought about his 1977 film. Giving the script to the actor, Lucas stated that he always wanted Guinness for the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi. It looked like a huge win for the film, getting an Oscar-winning actor to feature in it, but it is common knowledge that Guinness hated starring in the films. The English actor had a complicated relationship with George Lucas's franchise, but despite his disdain, he still went out of his way to fulfill his role. Alec Guinness made no secret of the fact that he held Star Wars in fairly low esteem. He thought it was a silly role and a silly franchise and didn't care for George Lucas's writing, which he called appalling. He didn't like to even be associated with the parts of the project he was involved in, let alone parts that he wasn't. From the moment he read the script, things were off. He called it awful, and other times, rubbish. The lines were ropey, and he wasn't impressed at all. Guinness wasn't a big fan of the science fiction genre, and outright thought, not for me, but when he started perusing the pages, he was engaged. I started to read it and was held in, although the dialogue was appalling, he surprisingly remarked.
George Lucas phoned me and said, he's he's like Annabelle, he's very diffident and very shy and quiet. He has a funny little voice. And he said, I think the movie's kind of going to be all right. And I said, oh, I'm glad, George. He said, yeah, the press quite like it. I said, good. He said, we're pleased with very grateful for little alterations you suggested, and so we'd like to offer you another 0.5%.
Guinness lamented that, apart from the money, he regretted having embarked on the film. It was such a shame because Obi-Wan Kenobi was easily one of the most well-liked characters. He liked them well enough, but it was not an acting job. The lamentable dialogue kept being changed and only slightly improved. He found himself old and out of touch with the young. The actor also recalled the time he met George Lucas and thought they could talk the same language. Guinness confided that he didn't have much confidence that the motion picture would become successful.
I killed off Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That was an 11th hour rewrite? That was
beyond 11.
He even said he'd rather his character die than keep reading those scripts. And that was what he did. He pushed Lucas to kill the character in the first movie, not because it helped the story, but because he couldn't stand another word of that dialogue. Years later, he admitted truthfully that he just wanted out of the movie, and he wasn't subtle about it.
Alec Guinness was not very happy about it.
Interesting.
But I had to convince him that it was the best thing for the movie.
Guinness also mocked the fan obsession with the movie after a kid told him he had seen Star Wars 100 times. Guinness told him never to watch it again. Guinness hated the dialogue, the lines, and the whole essence of the movie. In fact, he did not want to be associated with it. Lucas, on the other hand, hated the whole attitude from Guinness. Surprisingly, the movies gained momentum, and from there, it started building itself up, all thanks to the fans who loved and supported the franchise. George Lucas has actors he loved, but respect for his vision and boundaries were key values he could not jeopardize. When these lines are crossed, you can never get him back. These are the top 5 cast members George Lucas hated, even at age 80, and he couldn't be associated with. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.